When most folks think of cowboys, they picture the dusty streets of an old Western movie. But the real cowboys? They were tougher, grittier, and wilder than Hollywood could ever make them. These men, lawmen, outlaws, cattle drivers, and gunfighters, left a mark so deep on history we still talk about them today. So saddle up, because we're counting down the most legendary cowboys in history and the wild stories that made them famous. Before we get into the legends, let's set the scene. The cowboy way of life wasn't all about six-shooters and duels at high noon. It was about grit, hard work, and survival in a land where the law was often just a suggestion. From the 1800s through the early 1900s, cowboys drove cattle across thousands of miles, battled outlaws and nature alike, and carved their names into history with nothing but a horse, a rope, and a gun at their side. Let's kick things off with Nat Love, one of the toughest black cowboys of the Wild West. Born into slavery in 1854, Nat didn't just escape hardship, he conquered it. He became one of the most skilled ropers and sharpshooters of his time, earning the nickname Deadwood Dick after dominating a rodeo in Deadwood, South Dakota. He rode with some of the best cowboys on the range, fought off bandits, and even claimed he was once captured by Apache warriors, only to escape. Nat's story proves that the cowboy life wasn't just for one type of man, it was for anyone tough enough to take it on. Next up is Bass Reeves, the man who inspired the legend of the Lone Ranger. But unlike the movies, Reeves was the real deal, a U.S. Marshal who arrested over 3,000 criminals, including some of the most feared outlaws in the West. And get this, he did it all while being one of the very first black lawmen west of the Mississippi. Reeves was a master tracker, spoke multiple Native American languages, and was known for his disguise skills, often sneaking into outlaw hideouts dressed as a drifter before taking them down. Some say he never once got shot, despite being in countless gunfights. That's cowboy legend right there. When you hear Buffalo Bill, you probably think of the Wild West shows. And yeah, he was a showman, but before all that, he was a real-life scout, hunter, and Indian fighter who became a legend long before he ever stepped on stage. Buffalo Bill claimed to have killed over 4,000 buffalo in just 2 years, though that ain't exactly something to brag about now. But what made him truly famous was his traveling Wild West show, where he brought real cowboys, Native American warriors, and sharpshooters like Annie Oakley into the spotlight. No cowboy list is complete without Wyatt Earp, one of the most famous lawmen in history. But what made him truly legendary was the fact that despite being in some of the most famous shootouts, including the gunfight at the OK Corral, Wyatt Earp was never wounded. Not once. Some say it was pure skill, others say it was luck. But either way, Wyatt Earp was the kind of lawman outlaws feared. He didn't talk much, but when he pulled his gun, you knew it was over. Now, let's talk outlaws. Billy the Kid, the ultimate Wild West outlaw. The legend says he killed 21 men before he was 21. Truth is, the real number was probably lower, but that didn't stop Billy from becoming the most famous gunslinger of his time. He was captured multiple times, but always found a way to escape. Until Sheriff Pat Garrett finally caught up with him in 1881, even in death, Billy's legend only grew. Some even claim he faked his death and lived out his days in Texas. These are just a few of the men who shaped the Wild West. Some as heroes, some as outlaws, and some riding that line between the two. Their names have echoed through history, not because of how they died, but because of how they lived. The cowboy way ain't just about riding horses and wearing boots. It's about grit, honor, and knowing when to stand your ground. If you love the cowboy way, hit that like button and subscribe for more Western history, cowboy wisdom, and untamed stories of the Old West from Cowboy Chronicles.